Okay, thanks everyone for coming in, and what a great couple of speeches. If I need to pull this away from my mouth. Is that better? Okay. Some fantastic stories we all heard earlier, weren't they? Absolutely brilliant. Right, so Henrik says it's a bit of a surprise, and I feel like I'm doing a workout video with these headphones on. I feel like I should be exercising everybody, but I think everybody had a little bit too much exercise last night in the bar, maybe. So, these gloves. I'm not a magician. I'm not going to pull a rabbit out of a hat, but I'm going to talk about Elvis's clothes. And a few years ago, over 20 years ago actually, I was one of the first people to go into the archives and go through Elvis's wardrobe. And right here, this is my gloves here, holding these items. And you can see on this rack, there's, still got a bit of feedback, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a few items you might recognise here. You've got we've got a Cisco Kid jumpsuit, we've got a big fringe jumpsuit, conscious jumpsuit. These items you'd recognise from Elvis on tour, where he's got the crisscross. So I was very lucky to get hold of all these things. This is not a denim jacket, but it's kind of the closest Elvis would have got to a denim jacket in the 70s. So I'm just going to talk you through the sort of things we found and how this came about. Actually, this jacket here with the grommets on it, there's a lot of talk at the minute, if you see the news about Priscilla. She's selling some jackets, and the estate are questioning, are they real, are they not? And one of them is very similar to this. But Elvis did have a lot of the same things, which you'll see, so you're never quite sure. Now, this is in good condition, Henrik.
Yeah.
Crikey, better than mine. So this was a book I did a few years ago. And how this came about was, of course I loved Elvis, always been a big fan. And as fans, we all love the jumpsuits, all love his wardrobe. I loved all films and Hollywood and all wardrobes anyway. But I went to Graceland in 1992 for the first time. And in those days, there wasn't many jumpsuits around. It was just a few things in the trophy room. And all behind glass. There was nothing in the racquetball courts then, and nothing like what you see today. You know, the big, tall displays, nothing like that. And so you can't really see the jumpsuits and things properly. But in 1994, they had a big auction, and this was the catalogue, and it was the Jimmy Velvet collection. And that way? Down. Sorry. Is that okay? Sorry. The Jimmy Velvet collection, and before the auction actually happened, it toured around the UK and around the world. Did it go anywhere else near you? No. Okay, so can I borrow you here for a minute, Trevor? We borrow my husband as a prop. So this suit was in London, and if you can just stand here and be a dummy. Very good. That's quite good actually. If you stand there, you actually got the jumpsuit on. Okay. So I went to London, and there's this suit, and it wasn't in the cabinet. It was just here in the middle of a room. And so suddenly I could see, gosh, this is how big Elvis was. And it's quite tiny. It didn't move. And I could walk all the way around it, and I was like, wow, oh my gosh, oh my god, oh my, like this. And I was with my friend Jason. I was like, I'm going to smell it. And so I was like, put my head right in it. And what do you think it smelled like? Just old, you know. So, and Jason said, how does it smell? So just old. That bit was disappointing. But it was absolutely gorgeous. And suddenly you get this feel of Elvis's size, you know, his tiny little waist and his big shoulders and his height, you know, because I'm 5'9", I could sort of work out how tall he was from this dummy, and I was fascinated by this. I mean, I was literally circling this dummy for hours. Oh, I'm done now, thank you, Trevor. and then a few years later, this book came out called Hillbilly Hollywood, and I love like I obviously love Elvis, love hillbilly music and rockabilly music and country music. And this was all about the stars of country music. And when you open it up, you've got this really nice, really beautiful imagery. And this is a rodeo scarf which went over the back of a horse and it was created by Yeardye, who made Elvis's gold lame suit. And you can see in this book all these amazing details. And this one here, need a bit of water, is Johnny Cash's suit. And that was created by Manuel in Nashville. And Manuel was known as the Rhinestone Rembrandt. And if you're a country music singer, the sign that you've made it is when you can finally afford a Manuel suit. And these are connected to Elvis, because as you know, it was Yeardye that created Elvis's gold lame suit. And it's reported to have cost $10,000 at the time, which is crazy money, but that's just reported, so remember that figure. And then Manuel worked for Yeardye. So, you know, over the years, Manuel has claimed that it was him that made the gold lame suit. You can never be sure, but, you know, there's lots of employees in this places. There were people doing the work. We went to Nashville. We met Manuel, and what was a really great story for us, for Trevor and I, was that we were sitting in this sort of room waiting for Manuel to come out, and the girl said, "Oh, he's just with a client at the minute." And we sat there, and Jerry Reed came out.
Oh.
Yeah. And we were just sitting on the floor, and Jerry Reed, on the chair, and Jerry Reed's huge. And we usually we'd say hello to people, but we were shell shocked. We were like, and he came out in a Manuel suit with the cowboy hat on, and we were so amazed, you know. And but it was this what inspired me to do the book, Elvis Fashion, because is there anyone here who hasn't been to Graceland? You know, you don't get to see what these things are like up close. And I wanted Elvis fans to see every mark, every stitch, everything that created his clothes. So that was my sort of mission for that. So it was a bit of a journey to get there. So I spoke to people like Manuel, I spoke to other tailors, and I created a proposal, and I went to Graceland. And I already had a deal with a publisher in the UK, and they said, just get Graceland to be in on this, and we'll carry on. So I went to Graceland, and I said, I've got this book idea, and here's some ideas, here's some writing. And they said, oh, we've got a publisher, we just need a writer. So everything just came together that one day. So thanks, Elvis, really good timing. So about a year later, did a lot of research leading up to this. So a year or two, probably 2 years later, I finally went over to Graceland and had the chance to go through all of the archives. And this is some of the clothes. I've got a document that's like this, which is now in Henrik's possession. And it's hundreds and hundreds, thousands of items of clothing that they document there. And it tells you how big everything is. I mean, this is just a few shirts. And these are all individual pages. So it will say where they've all been, a little few notes about them, roughly what sizes, ages, and we're talking sort of 20 years ago now, and then 20 years ago, none of us had smartphones. You know, computers weren't as good now, so their notes weren't as good as they probably are now 20 years ago. We never had programs like the Gates of Graceland that went through the archives. We never had anything like that. I had to use a proper old-fashioned camera, wouldn't have had a smartphone. I mean, a BlackBerry would have been really amazing technology back then.
Can I interrupt and ask you, how did you manage to get that? Like, if I walked in to Elvis Presley Enterprises next door and said, hey, can I go in and take a picture of all this stuff? Get out of here. How did you manage to get that?
I'd done a fair bit of work as sort of written work before, so I'd done some big coffee table books. I'd done one on Elvis, and I'd also written a book about Eddie Cochran. So I had like a body of work I could go to them with, and then I also wrote a proposal and did a lot of background work and wrote some sample chapters, spoke to like Manuel, spoke to side divorce family, spoke to people that would, so I gave them a sample of what it could look like, and it was just amazing timing. They just said, great, a publisher from New York just came to us, they need a writer, And next thing you know, I get an email, hi, I'm a writer. Yeah, so it's just amazing timing, really. Yeah, so one thing I want to mention is that when people buy or get Elvis clothes and things like that in auction, and they're never sure if Elvis owned it because there's no pictures of Elvis wearing it or anything like that. Elvis had so many clothes, you could never possibly take a picture of everything that he owned, you know. I mean, this is just a spread. You might even struggle to actually see something on this spread, maybe, that Elvis did wear. I mean, maybe, that one maybe. But, got a karate thing down the bottom. There are tons and tons of this. And also, it carries on. Every single sock is in this document. Elvis had loads of belts, Elvis had loads of scarves, just neckerchief scarves. And a bit like anyone's house at home, we got lots of single socks, you know, you put the sock in the washing machine, one goes missing. Elvis had all those things as well. It didn't have any underwear, which was strange. unless that's a secret document, I don't know. But as well as this, there was also the lots and lots of photographs. Again, they weren't archived very well. It's probably about 20,000 photographs, and I went through one by one by one. And that included lots of photos I've still never seen of Elvis and Anne Margaret. Yeah, no wonder they hid them.
Can I ask you, how was it stored? How do they archive it?
Where are these kept?
Yeah. Did you go to his closet and take everything out, or was it in boxes, or how was it kept?
You see the little grey boxes where they keep the clothes?
Yeah.
So those are stored near Graceland. The clothes are stored near Graceland. But there are two huge archive warehouses. They're about 2 or 3 miles away from Graceland. And that's where I worked. So in the day, I would be at this warehouse. It was a bit like big tall place, and it had huge shelves from floor to as tall as this, almost as tall as this building, I would say. Shelves and shelves of stuff. And there was like a gold lamp with a gold phone with a lamp on top, and there was gifts from fans, things from Elvis's bedrooms, just piles of stuff all over the place. And down the back of this warehouse, that's where we set up our photo shoots in the day. I'd kind of go through this, pick the clothes that I knew I'd wanted, and then they'd go and get the magic grey boxes. We'd hang them up, we'd steam them, we'd do the photo shoot. And then at night, because Graceland obviously had tours and the best things were at Graceland, at night we would, they'd shut Graceland for the night and we would go in. So through the middle of the night I was working at Graceland as well. So, and also Elvis Presley's Memphis, we worked there because there's some other items that were kept on display there. And this just shows, I mean, Joe Esposito said, when I interviewed Joe Esposito, he said Elvis would buy 8 or 10 of the same things, you know, and here's a good example with more than 8 or 10, Elvis's pajamas. He had that, there were like 40 pages of pajamas that just go on and on and on and on. And I mean, there's probably about 10 pages of the tops, there's about 10 pages of the bottoms. You carry on through the document, then they all start again. And I said to Scotty Moore, actually, when I interviewed him for the books, he was alive back then, and I said, what's with Elvis and the pajamas? What's going on? He said, oh, maybe Elvis just likes slumber parties. But yeah, there are absolutely tons and tons of them, and dressing gowns. And also at the back of the document, you'll see Henry all Lisa's clothes, from her little baby clothes as well, which is really, really fascinating.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Sorry for being a pain.
No, I like it.
But like you said, you gave me all the files, so I have them now. So when I got them the other night, I didn't go to bed. I went through everything that night. I couldn't sleep at all. I really like the details on your notes, but you have something that says excellent, and you goes from poor to excellent. That's how you rated his clothing. So were you able to take everything up and hold it and go through, and when it was poor, was it because there were still holes in, or was it washed too many times, or what, when you gave it the
yeah, that's their rating because it's printed, isn't
was
it?
that Graceland rating?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it is the condition of the outfit, and quite often these old outfits they just faded so much.
Yeah.
You know, they're so old, and that there could be an item that you think you want to see so much, and then when it comes out of the archives, it's just almost threadbare.
Can I add something to this
Yeah.
also? I asked, and I got the same answer from a couple people, so to me it verified it as being legit. I asked them, I'll say Dick Grove as one of them, is I asked one day, when Elvis was alive and, you know, actively touring and all that,
Yeah.
Graceland is a big home, but it's not, you know, super huge with storage space and all that. And I asked, where did they keep all of his stage attire when he wasn't out, you know, using it? And they said that there used to be a shed in the back of Graceland with a dirt floor, and they put the jumpsuits in a cardboard box and put them in the shed, and there wasn't even a lock on the door. It was just a dirt floor in the backyard of Graceland, and that's where they would keep his outfits when he was not on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, and maybe that's where they've refurbed it now. Maybe that's where the
Yeah.
clothes are kept properly in the proper archives
Yeah.
over there now. It's amazing, isn't
You
it?
imagine all the humidity and the bugs and
Yeah.
the rain and just in a cardboard box in a shed in the yard.
And that is a good point, because there are so many things in the archives. You know, when they have these big auctions and we think they're getting rid of Elvis's things, there are so many things. As well as this huge warehouse that I was working in, there was another warehouse next door. And well, the story, you know, you mentioned, you were talking earlier about the '69 press conference suit, the black suit. And we were using that for a photo shoot, and we couldn't find a mannequin small enough. And so we went through all the mannequins we had. I mean, the waist is like 31 or 30, it's absolutely minuscule, really tiny waist on that. And so we went through all of this, and we're going through the mannequins, and they said, oh, no, there's not one there, try next door. So we went to the warehouse next door, you switch the light on, and it's like, televisions from floor to ceiling, like I said, as tall as this house, down one wall, just televisions. Cars that we've never seen, the whole place is full of cars and pickup trucks, and at the back of the building they've got Elvis's Christmas decorations, you know, the big thing, the big display they have out the front. So there's a whole new, there's just so much stuff. And then on one side of the building, when I was looking for the more mannequins, there was all of Elvis's furniture, which I think has been on display since, that he had in Graceland at the time he died. So you got all the red, you know, all the red dining tables and stuff, and the red carpet, which is in your book, isn't it, Henrik? Or Linda's, yeah. And this red carpet, again, it's really static, and I'm going through looking for mannequins, and I was covered in red fluff. I was like Elmo. I mean, I was really covered in stuff looking for this mannequin. So I still couldn't find a mannequin small enough. So they said, go to Graceland, go to the racquetball courts. So went to Graceland, went upstairs to the racquetball courts, because there's a little balcony that overlooks, and there's a pile of legs and arms up there. And so I went up there and found a mannequin, and while I was there, I said, let's just have a look upstairs, you know, because this is the last place Elvis had been on the day he died. He played racquetball in the morning, and so upstairs they've got all of his bathroom up there and his shower, and I was thinking this could be the last sort of shower Elvis had, might have been in this particular place. And the toilet, there's still toilet paper on the toilet. I don't know if that had been changed in all that time. But they didn't, you know, things were still left quite a lot in those days. Even in the jungle room, there were still things in the cupboards they said they hadn't fully gone through. And another example was of things that we opened a trunk and just found all of his police badges in there. Ones that had never been on display. There were a couple on display, but we just found a ton more of them. Anyway, I'm changing here, but I found this dummy. And again, this outfit was so small. Do I need to wait this up? Yeah. So I found this dummy, and again, I could not get Elvis's clothes onto the dummy. It's so small, and I was sitting on the floor with my legs in front of me, and I had Elvis's legs sticking up like this. And if you look, if anyone's got this book, if you actually look at the shot in there of Elvis at a '69 press conference, you can see we just still couldn't do the zip up. It's still, you know, it's still too small. So this was part of the research. It's just my silly sketches, but in the couple of years I had before I went to Graceland, I thought, right, I need to let's go through every single movie, watch every single movie, one at a time. And the only way to remember the outfits, rather than make notes, was to me to draw little sketches of every single thing Elvis wore in every single movie. And so here, for example, this is one film. Anybody recognise this film? You kind of got, well, yeah, it's kind of the dating scene, so to speak. Yeah, so he goes to the shooting range, and then he goes to Frontier Village, and then his legs are missing. He goes water skiing, and he goes to the nightclub and the picnic. And this is another film. I know my drawing's bad. This is Kissing Cousins. But it's just notes, But what's interesting is when you try to do it and remember it this way, you draw something in some film, and you're watching the movie and sketching it, and then a few films later you say, I've drawn this before, I've seen this outfit before. So a lot of things get recycled through the films. You might see Elvis wearing one outfit, and then a few films later you might see one of his fellow co-stars wearing the same outfit. And Van Acapulco, he's got this sort of black suit which was recycled again in Frankie and Johnny, with a few more extra tassels and frills. So you do see these sort of things come around. So this is what's this. So this is back in the archives now, and some of the things that we uncovered here. You got these big, enormous black fur coats that Elvis had. He had absolutely tons of them. You got caftans. And you say about the condition of things, all these shirts that he had, the one that he's wearing in That's the Way It Is when he's backstage, he's reading all the telegrams and things like that. That's barely recognisable. It's so rude. It's such a shame because it's such an iconic outfit. And Elvis's wedding tuxedo as well was also. It's okay now that was restored, but when I first went to Graceland in the early 90s, it was light brown from all the flash. Yeah, it was so damaged, but they've done a good job restoring that. And he also got his army uniform. What was interesting was some of his army uniform still had the shirt and the jacket and the little tie on the same hanger, as if Elvis had just taken it off, put it to one side, and it's just left like that for all that time. Let's see what else we got in there. But yeah, so we would get everything out, we'd steam everything, hang it on these racks, and get it ready for the photo shoots.
So let me ask you another. Sorry for interrupting again. I feel like Colombo. No, but you were talking about the mannequins.
Yeah.
And I think that's you have a very interesting point there, because, and like when you use Trevor as an example, that many, and I know it for tours here, that many people think that Elvis was fat like me. No, but they felt like he must have weighed 120 kilos or something like that.
No,
and
it's
it
really
never
thin.
ever happened, right?
He was very thin, and you'll see from the document most of the waists are like 30 to 32. They're very small, very small. And the first thing that came out of the archives was the shirt from Jailhouse Rock, and that is tiny. It's the tiniest little thing. It really is so small. And I mean, the jumpsuits are beautiful. We all love the design, but if you're a woman, they say, don't wear stripes, it makes you look wider. But Elvis had these suits with these big belts right round the middle, didn't he? And things like the sundial, so why not put a big circle on his finger? None of these were, as gorgeous they were not always flattering, not that would make, look a good shape. There's a suit, sometimes it's called gypsy, sometimes it's called a totem pole, but it's got this big shape up here and a big thing around there, and the pleats and the legs, and it makes your legs look short, and So I think a lot of things is like an optical illusion with his suits, especially as they got more complicated. It just makes him look bigger, and he absolutely was not. I mean, these things are, like I said, 1969. He's got this tiny little waist. And I remember standing next to the mannequins and measuring myself and the height, and yeah, I would never have got these trousers on, ever.
Was there anything you didn't get access to?
No, I can't think of anything that I was after and didn't get. I can't think of anything. But like you see in here as well, you've got the Cisco kid. You've also got the big, the wingsuit with the massive, great big tassels coming down here. You've got this one as well. This suit here, this shirt here on the end here. The pictures of Elvis with Lisa Marie on Christmas, where he's giving the presents. That's that shirt there. And another thing to note is when Bill Belu made Elvis's shirts and the jackets, the jackets had a lining that matched the shirt. So there'll be a jacket with this lining in it, and there'll be the shirt to match the lining. But Elvis always mixed them up. Very rarely do you see those things actually matching each other. He just liked to break the rules, didn't he? And they've also got his. Can I see that there? This here, that's from Viva Las Vegas. And he's doing a Come On Everybody. And that was made by Cy Duvall. And I'll go on to some of the tailors actually. Oh, this is Ilaria that was my editor. So the process was that I had to write everything, and then it went to Ilaria. She looked for spelling mistakes, things I'd read wrong, and checked I was writing in American English, not British English. And then after that, it went to Graceland, and they checked everything again. But yeah, one day we found a trunk, opened it up, and it was full of these badges. They should have been on the proper display. And this was quite an important badge, which was sitting in a trunk. And there's just piles of these things there. Yeah, and just organised crime strike force. I just love these amazing titles that Elvis used to. Incredible. These are some of the behind the scenes things, and this is actually in the not the racquetball court, the trophy room. So the tours had finished. These aren't brilliant photos, like I said, because didn't have iPhones or anything back in those days. So you might recognise Angie Marchese. She's not like younger then. She was like starting in the archives. And so you can see that, like here, we're setting a shot up. And this was Paul, our designer. So he worked for the publishers, and he was so miserable, so horrible. Didn't speak to anybody. Hated Elvis. Just sat there miserable the whole time. But when the book came out, he obviously was a creative genius because the book looked so beautiful. But he directed the whole thing, and you got Woody was the photographer. So here we've set up a shot, and you've got the outfit that Elvis wore when he accepted his, for the JCs. And over here we've got some shots from the movies. I don't know how well you can see them here. I'll have to look at my notes, which are left over here, see which one they are. But you've got things from Viva Las Vegas. You got the blue suit from, is it in there? Yeah, I think so. It might just be down there where he sings "The Lady Loves Me" to Anne Margaret. Could be there. Get outfits from Speedway. Live a little, love a little. What's interesting about Elvis movies and his clothes, there's not a lot left in the archives from Elvis's movie years, and but he was dressed by some pretty famous people. When he worked at Paramount, the head of the wardrobe department was a lady called Edith Head, and she was very famous. She had something like she won 8 Oscars. She had something like 35 nominations, and she dressed all those big female stars in the 40s to the 60s. So like Grace Kelly, all those Hitchcock films, these enormous great big dresses. We were talking about Elizabeth Taylor, her Daisy dress, that beautiful, that was an Edith Head design. So as much as Edith Head would have had her credits on Elvis's films, mainly it would have been like a male costumer that would go out and buy these things. She's credited on there, and there were pictures of Edith with Elvis on the set of Blue Hawaii. But Edith was quite famous too later on for just getting the credit and not so much doing the work. And sorry about that, in the big puff of air there. In the film with Audrey Hepburn, Sabrina, most of her clothes were made by Givenchy, and it was an amazing wardrobe. And then Edith Head just got all the credit and the Oscar. So she started to annoy people in the industry a little bit. I spoke to Bob Mackie, and he's the guy that dresses Cher, and so a very famous costume designer. And he was a sketch artist back in those days, and he was no, she didn't do anything. He's quite upset about it, really. But another guy that dressed Elvis was Cy Duvall, and Cy was the guy that dressed all of the Rat Pack. So if you see a film like Ocean's 11, there's amazing suits they're all wearing, and you know, Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin look so cool. These are all Cy Duvall suits, and Elvis wore, I think the best example of Cy Duvall's suits was obviously I just mentioned Come On Everybody and Viva Las Vegas, but he also, it happened at the World's Fair where he's wearing all these smart suits. These are all from Cy Duvall's, and he had a shop on in Hollywood, and it was above a club called Slapsy Max's. If any of you have ever seen some of those gangster films like, God, what's the name of the film? I made a note of actually. Gangster Squad, that film, you know, that was all set in Slapsy Max's, and Cy Duvall was upstairs, so he was kind of like dressing all the mobsters, dressing the Rat Pack. His family claim now he wasn't, but you know, it was owned by a really famous mobster called Mickey Cohen, and Cy dressed Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, and it was in this club that they had their sort of West Coast debut. And Elvis, there's all these tales where the Memphis Mafia came from, and they said they all pulled up, didn't they, in a limo. They all got out one by one, and they're all wearing these Cy Duvall suits, and somebody's saying, it's the Memphis Mafia. And you know, it's that look that they all had in those days. But the costume designer that got the credit in having it at the World's Fair was a guy called Robert Fuca. It's a name you don't want to get wrong too many times. And he dressed Mork and Mindy, you know, that TV show. So it's funny to think that Elvis shared, you know, costume with these guys. So there's lots of great stories about his movie wardrobe, but not much of these things exist now. I think probably there was these big places like in Hollywood called Western Costume, where a lot of people would check out items, check them back in, or they'd just go out and buy things. You know, not a huge amount. But you can. Now this, I don't know how well has it moved on? I think that's a bit slower than that, and it throws me. Now this is not a brilliant picture, but it's one of my favourite pictures because, you know, if it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and we're all working through the night and we're all very tired, well, we pulled all the dummies, all the mannequins out of the display and kind of like line them up, ready to be in a photo shoot. And I remember it being very late at night and sort of being tired and looking back and, whoa, you know, it's like all these Elvises were following me out everywhere. It's like they'd all come to life. And the way the dummies were set, it was kind of like one foot in front of the other. So it really looked like they just walked out and they were just following me out. And I remember, yeah, I mean, you can see like items from Tour there. It looks like the outfit where Elvis went to the JCs and he went to the breakfast beforehand, the big sort of furry brown thing. And they got the JC's outfit there as well. This is me in a much, 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 much younger day. Working through the night. So yeah, there's photo shoots going on and we're just sort of laying on the floor, making notes with my editor again, Ilaria. And I just want to go through, you might not be able to read all these, so I might have to do a bit of audio description on this. I just want to go through some of the receipts, obviously, that we found, that we're trying to match up to items. These ones, I mean, we all know that Elvis loved his guns, and you guys were talking about guns earlier. And a couple of times, a lot of these are always dated a few days after his birthday, so it almost seems like he's had Christmas, he's had his birthday, and it's like, I want to buy some guns now. You know, it's always like the weekend after his birthday, he goes gun shopping. And there's about 5 guns on this one here on the left here. And he's obviously he's got Colt Pythons, got Colt Diamond Black, you've got an auto pistol, you've got a Colt 22 revolver, you've got the ear protectors, you've got the ammunition, you've got a Colt Trooper Mark III, and you got all the cleaning equipment, everything that goes with it, the belts and the holsters. So he's bought this whole thing, and it's a bit like last night when all you guys are at the bar and you say, can I get you a drink? Can I get you a drink? And Elvis is like, can I get you a gun? Can I get you a gun? What gun would you like? Which one do you want? A pistol? You have a pistol? And then this is a great, I love the note on this. Elvis has bought a lot of Russian ammunition, and the guy that sold, whoever's the Frontier gun shop in Palm Springs, and someone's written, this is good ammo, you know, so don't be afraid to shoot it. So it's like, oh, go for it, Elvis. And this invoice has probably appeared in quite a few books and things over the years. But Elvis had the big gold belt that he was given in 1970 to recognise, you know, selling out in Las Vegas. It was given to him by Alex Schuffy at the International Hotel, and a big gold belt, which was actually silver and gold plated. And Elvis had a little bit of rework doing to it, which you can see, you know, missing diamonds, rubies and sapphires, stars put onto it. So he had a lot of work done to this belt. So, you know, he spent quite a lot of money on this, actually, the work he had done on this. And then, I mean, his bills for jewellery were absolutely astronomical. I mean, one of them, I think it's Laurel Hayes, there's Laurel Hayes one here on the right. The balance was like running up to over 150,000 for that year. He spent a lot of money on jewellery. And this item here is really, this 39,000, 33750. I mean, and that is the TCB ring with the big, you know, the big jewel and everything in the middle, which is like something like a 10.68 carat. And this is exactly like 2 years before he died, the 16th of August, 1975. But I mean, just the balance, look at the balance running up here. It's crazy. Here it's 140,000, but it did go over 150,000. And then over here, you got on the left here, you got some TCBs, $180. One TCB, one TLC. They were delivered to Sunny West. And what are they now? They're probably 10 times that amount now, aren't they? If you want to buy one of Laurel Hayes in gold. Some more invoices here from Bill Belu. Bill obviously did all of Elvis's costumes from the 68 special onwards, and most of his personal wardrobe as well in the 70s. Elvis just loved to buy from Bill Belu all these suits that we were talking about with the shirts underneath it and everything. It was all Bill Belu. And we got some invoices here for Aloha. As you, Elvis had his first cape for Aloha was absolutely huge, and Joe Esposito rang Bill Belu and said, Elvis is on the floor laughing, he can't even stand, the cape is so huge. We need another cape. So Bill had to make another cape, and also it says a replacement of eagle belts because Elvis gave one away to Jack Lord, I think it was, before the show. So suddenly, you know, before the show, he's got a cape that's too big, he's got a belt he's given away, and Bill Belu, I think someone had to fly it in directly and have it on the seat next to them. And then we got some invoices here for some of Elvis's jumpsuits. And it's interesting to note the price of these things. So when I said earlier about Nudie said in the 50s that Elvis's gold lame suit was 10,000, and that's not true. It was really a quarter of that. It was just told to be 10,000 for sort of show business terms. But you can see that 10,000 when Elvis was at the height of his most expensive jumpsuit was only spending about 2,500 on his jumpsuit. So that was a massive exaggeration there by Nudie. I think that might be all of my actual notes, so if anyone's got any questions.
I think if I may say something, I think it's pretty crazy, you know, because we're all Elvis fans, right? Yeah. And we all seen pictures, and we all we all, I personally had no idea that all of this was kept, and in the amount of numbers. What did surprise you the most? The pajamas, or the belt, or the socks?
Probably the little things, yeah, because you think, oh, when they say here's the archives, you think it's going to be jumpsuit, movie costume, jumpsuit, stage costume, and it's like sock, 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 sock. wallet, belt, and yeah. And
you know what's interesting too, you just mentioned the Golda Meir suit, is to get up close to it, and you just see how battered that suit is.
Yeah, and there's scuffs on the knees.
Elbows, you can see where they did repairs on the suit through the years, and he was really rough on that outfit, performing in it, sliding across the stage, dropping to his knees, so when you get up, you see a photo of him in it, you don't notice it, but when you're standing right in front of the suit, and you can see where the stitching was, where they repaired it, where there was a hole ripped in it, and they re-dyed it, and it's just fascinating to see the knees are all torn up in it, and it so it looks like your photos where the detail is so intense. It's really cool to get a look at that, but it's really interesting to see it in person and just see how beat up those outfits are, and the stitches are popped and things like that. It's cool. So that's
and that's what I was trying to do, was think that we all see these things in pictures, and then to actually see it, to see how heavy the cloth was. You know, what the stitching actually looks like close up. You know, I really want to make it so that anyone, even if you can't get to Graceland or you can't see it properly behind glass, you get a proper look at it. I mean, back at the beginning, I had that Manuel suit that was made for Johnny Cash with a little bit of sort of Western tailoring on it and things like that. And again, the '69 press conference suit, you can never see it behind glass, but it's got these little Western darts in it and things like that, these little touches that you just can't see. And I was recently were at the Elvis exhibition in London, and they had that '69 press conference, and I was like, I know this, you know, I couldn't see it through the glass. You got the lights, there's so many things you just miss, you know. So this lady here.
Are all these clothes still exist at the moment?
Yeah, as far as do all these clothes still exist? They're still there. I mean, there hasn't been any big sales. I think that Graceland would be selling these items. They've got much more things they can possibly display. I was talking to some of these chaps last night about jumpsuits, and they were saying there was things you could see ordering, and Elvis would wear them a lot later. But you'll see when you look through it, there are jumpsuits that you just don't recognise. You know, did Elvis have this ordered? You know, or was it like a test jumpsuit? You know.
So I can order a pyjama.
Sorry?
So I can order a pyjama.
Yeah, anybody who's a big pyjama party, there's like but his pyjamas were just like bought from Sears. You know, just the local department store. You know, I don't.
Because after all these years, they're getting older and thinner and uglier and.
Yeah, some things is just absolutely threadbare, you know, but some things are absolutely great, you know, and like I said, Elvis, if you bought a denim jacket, he didn't wear denim, as we all know, you know, he associated it with sort of poverty and only wore it in a couple of films, but he had two sort of three sets of like denim outfits, and but he bought them with extra bling on them and extra sort of rhinestones and in different colours, and of course the leather jacket in the 68 special was based on a denim design as well. So, you know, you put them in leather. You can't get Elvis in denim, but you can put them in leather.
I want to ask the red shirt from the rehearsals. Well, that's what it is. I've had a discussion on Facebook a little while ago, because there was a display where it was written that it was the original suit, but the red shirt on the mannequin had the standing collar. And if you see the rehearsal, the collar is lying flat on his shoulders. Is that the same shirt? You know that?
Yeah, well, what they tend to do in the archives is tend to look and try to match it exactly, and find the invoices and, you know, and work out. It could just be like a starching issue. It could just be, it could be something like that. Yeah, this one here. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that's not standing
Yeah,
up.
I see what you mean. On the display, it's really
it
high.
stands up.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It could just be the way it's been pressed. And
Okay.
yeah, I would say so.
Well,
But they have
the
got.
Concha suit when in the movie, the collar fell. So
Yeah, it
it's
does.
up like this originally, but then during the show it falls.
And the sweat and things like that. I mean, when these things go on display, they've got the opportunity to sort of stiffen them, and there are things pulled around the back. You know, it's not naturally, they're not all naturally hung on these mannequins. There are loads of pins and stuff going in the back to get it in the right sort of place. But again, it is difficult because Elvis could have had several shirts that were very similar, so they've still got a difficult job. And I think that earlier on, years ago, you might remember this, Henrik, but they had suits that they said this is what Elvis wore when he met Nixon, and it was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had a suit that said this is what Bill Belu designed for Elvis to meet Nixon. But you know, when you look at these things, you can see that when Elvis met Nixon, he wore a karate gi with a jacket from the '68 special over the top, with his gold belt. You know, he never had a special outfit made. He kind of thought, what have I got in the wardrobe? What can I throw on? You know, study Nixon.
It's like the Crawl with a blue shirt from the Tupelo concert. Had it buttons or had it no buttons? They tried to sell one.
You mean the velvety sort of
Yeah,
shirt?
they tried to sell one and they didn't know if he had more than one or it was real or not.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about that shirt, isn't there? Because in the UK we had a famous actor and comedian that did called Frank Skinner that claimed that he bought that shirt,
Yeah, I remember.
and he was trying to trace the origin of it. The difficult thing is not much exists from that time. So even if there were a few Lansky items, for example, in the archives, but not many. I mean, Elvis kept a lot, but most of the things he kept were from the 70s. So, and it said that, wasn't it said that Gladys made that shirt? Maybe I'm mixing that up with something else, but things like that, they just don't exist anymore. They have gone, or they're just so damaged. But I mean, a lot of Elvis's clothes were cut up, weren't they, for that album cover as well? And yeah, so they could have gone there. And it said as well that a lot of things from the '68 special nearly went through the shredder as well, but they were saved, I think, by Mike McGregor, wasn't it, that saved those? Yeah, who was the guy that made Elvis's sort of leather.
Speaking of that very thing, the suit jackets that he wore in the 50s seem to have just evaporated. Did you see many of those or a bunch of those? You know what I'm talking about? Just any live concert in the 50s, he would typically wear a suit jacket, and those have, for the most part, just never shown.
No, and I mean, like, and all those great jackets he had that was in Jailhouse Rock, and you saw him wearing it outside and things like that. No, they just don't exist. But there's some
like
records.
This one, right?
Renee
Like
has
this
it
one.
now.
Yeah, like this one. Yeah, that's where it went. But you see them at the collections. Like Sun had one of the Dorsey jackets once,
Yes.
didn't they?
Yeah.
But no, it's not much of Graceland. There was a Lansky jacket, I think it is in there, and Elvis still had the sort of price tag on it, so I'm not sure it's from the 50s. And everything was just too old from that era, really. You waving or asking? Oh, this lady here. Mike, tell me if I'm going over. 'Cause I'm
Oh.
just-
It's about the last jumpsuit he wear in the 77. Can you tell about that?
Oh, I
The
can't hear
last
up here.
jumpsuit.
She was asking about the last jumpsuit.
Sundial.
The sundial.
Yeah, that is in the archives. Yeah, and it's obviously still on display at Graceland. And again, it's like Henrik just said about people having this wrong idea about Elvis and being larger. The sundial's got this big circle on the front. It could make anybody look big, isn't it?
Yeah.
The design of it, but it is really thin. I mean, when Trevor stood up here earlier, he's got a bigger waist than Elvis. You know, sorry, Trevor.
Just so you pushed under the bus there, right?
Yeah.
He's a good dummy, though.
Yes, it gets on me. Yeah.
But anyway, I think.
Am I running out of time?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can I ask you, when you went there and worked during the nights
Yeah.
and all that, did you take your time to really appreciate that you were there at Graceland, at the archives, and all that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And when I said about going to this warehouse and all the little bits of red fluff from the carpet were all over me, and I made sure to like remove every single one of them and not feel that I was taking anything away. You know, other people, some people you might know might take them and sell them on eBay. You know, all these little bits of carpet. I was very careful not to, damage anything, and not to sort of go beyond the opportunities I was given. And like I said, in the middle of the night, I remember, I've been walking around in the jungle room without shoes and socks on, and I've been in the lounge, and I've been in these fantastic places inside Elvis's home. But once in the middle of the night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I needed to use the bathroom, and so I had to use the public toilets in Graceland. But I had to walk out and through the meditation garden on my own at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's when you think, yeah, this is unusual. This is
In
lucky,
which
you
year
know.
was that? In
Were
which
you
year?
given anything? Clothes?
No,
No? No
no.
presents?
No, just got my gloves. That's all
Yeah.
I've got. Just my gloves.
Yeah, guys, and that is the original glove that you were wearing, right? That was
Yeah.
the glove that you wore.
I kept them, and do you know, I only got them out during COVID, when we all had to wear gloves. And I thought, oh, I'll wear these.
So you got to go upstairs in the racquetball court. Did
Yeah.
you get any other access to the home itself that we don't know
Yeah,
about?
yeah. So
Did you go
obviously,
upstairs?
no.
Ah, damn it.
No, well, obviously there are lots of little doors and things you don't know about because you're sort of ferried around on the tour, aren't you? And you know, in the Lisa Marie, in the plane they've got these fantastic bathrooms and all. They're dotted around all over the house. These lovely little bathrooms and you know these things that and you go, oh, that door comes out here and oh, that goes here. You know, 'cause unless you've got when you actually get to go through these places. And like I said, you know, I was in the jungle room and we were taking some shots against the mirrors in the lounge, and so we're all crawling around the floor and thinking, oh, look at us at 2 o'clock in the morning rolling around on Elvis's carpet.
So which
Yeah,
year?
let's take a last one.
Last-
Which
Sorry.
year was that? Which year was we speaking? You were there. Which year?
2003.
2003. Okay.
Yes, long time ago. Old lady now.
I'm sorry, guys, we have a tight program.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to close with or say, or I don't want to take time away from you? Is there something you need?
No, but if anyone's got any questions, just come and ask. And thank you to those people that did buy the book. It was a labour of love, and I hope you enjoyed it. And sorry, there's not more copies left. They've all sold out.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen.